All right, episode 178. This one's a big one because we're speaking to you, real estate agents that don't pay their taxes. We're going to get started right now.
I've been one.
All right, episode 178. Today we are talking about real estate agents that most of y'all don't pay your taxes. So this one's going to be a show for you because you're going to want to learn how to are we talking about how to not pay taxes?
Well, it's easy to not pay taxes.
Well, that's true.
I don't think we need to talk about how to not do that, right?
How to
Just don't do it.
You just don't do it?
You know what I found out from
Just
my
ignore
own
their emails.
before we do this, because I found out from my own not paying real estate taxes. It's actually not the paying of taxes that gets you sent to prison. It's the not filing of your taxes that they will come and take your ass to prison for the quickest.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, absolutely.
Because you seem comfortable talking about this.
Of course.
By what method do they contact you when they...
By text message.
Yeah, I was
It's a
like,
text message
It's,
or the
it's
voicemail.
it's lots of mail, and then it's super scary phone calls. And that's where it starts.
But is it from people overseas?
No.
those-
This is like straight up the IRS.
Because I get those calls all the time.
No, this is nobody like looking for
an
money.
American person.
It's an American person.
That's the
being like, we
worst.
got
When
your
you pick
shit.
up the phone and it's a number you don't know and it's not a telemarketer and it's an American guy, you're like, this is a serious phone call.
Yeah.
Because this is costing somebody some money.
And I will also say, like, we can dive into this as we jump into it, but there are ways to like maneuver out of that and get caught back up, and like essentially what I ended up having to do.
Okay.
And before we go into our sponsors, Brian, do you want to introduce this guest that we don't know? We don't know him.
Listen, Tom Diesel is on the show today. Tom Forrest. My father is here. We're doing this weird camera thing. Jesse's cameras are too good. They're only focused on the person who's talking. I don't know how we do that. It's incredible.
That's pretty cool.
See, he just came back into focus.
Yeah, look at that.
He's talking. Right?
Is this a brand new camera?
No, we do need to talk about getting new lenses. Jesse's very excited about it.
Should we do a show about that?
We will.
Yeah.
Right? But my father has helped me do my taxes for years, set up my entity structure, keeps me out of trouble with the government. And so now that it's tax time or close to it, we wanted to bring that value to the show today because I think a lot of people were confused around a lot of different stuff. And we have a lot of opportunity to talk about investing today as well, building passive income and cash flow in ways that he has done. So I'm excited to talk about all of this type of
Because
stuff.
I want to hear the way that you do it, Tom. Does that help offset some of the taxes? So I do want to talk about that. But we definitely have to thank our sponsors on this one. And when you're getting that tax refund, Mortgage Mike definitely wants to help you use that as a down payment. So all those tax refund checks you're getting, just save it for that down payment. Go to mortgagemikeoftexas.com. He can give you that Mortgage Mike stamp of approval. If you've got $99 in a job, I'm sure he can get you approved. That's all it is.
That's all
Dang,
it
you
is.
said $99, and I was like, dude, is he gonna go like that $99 and your taxes ain't one or some shit? Like, I was
Which one is
that's
that?
such a prime opportunity for a Jay-Z Black Album reference. and
No,
just-
we missed it there.
no.
I don't know if I know that one.
Man, all music references are just so lost on Nick. I think it's so funny, dude. It's like the one funny recurring thing about Nick is he doesn't understand music references. It's like, you know what he does understand, though? Hard shell protection.
I just protect myself all the time. Anything I go into, I'm just wearing protection.
So make sure you head over to armadillo.one/tour, TORE. Talk to Mr. Theron Smith over there for all of your home warranty needs and your one T-shirt contract, and get your hard shell protection over there. They're the best in the business.
And then the best property management company, who Dana will tell you right now that I don't know anything about taxes or how to give an EIN number or anything, because she was asking for my stuff and I sent it over, and she calls me, she's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, here it is. It's not filled out correctly. So you know what? Dana is our compliance person. Dana knows what she's doing when it comes to property management. We go to her for all the questions, and it shows because she has brought on, in the last 30 days, she has brought on
20-some properties.
North of 20 properties to manage. Investors right now, they're picking properties up. There's homeowners that are trying to sell that's not selling. They're not happy with it, and so they're deciding to lease it out. So go to homewarddfw.com, connect with Dana Wynn, and talk with her about how she can manage your investment.
Woo!
Yeah. That's
I
it.
feel like the energy and intensity of the show is. I feel like we've already done a whole show in like 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
Whew.
It's time to go home.
All right. So what are we talking about today?
I mean, this is your topic, right?
This is my topic.
Yeah.
So first, I want to just kick it off with this. Like, let's have fun with this. And you can comment if you're willing to be honest, right? Like, how many agents out there, one, have zero structure around their business? What I mean by that, we talk about this a lot. Run your business like a business, right? And we talk about it from the standpoint of like where leads come from, how you treat them, how you manage your finances, P&L and stuff like that, and then, how you serve your people. It should all be a system. You're trying to build a conveyor belt. Leads come in, they're handled this way, they turn into deals, and then they close, right? We rarely talk about running your business like a business from a tax standpoint because it's like, understand, taxes are an expense. They're not like some other thing. They're literally one of the biggest expenses in your business. And I think that we do very little to mitigate that expense. And I would really love to get people's kind of guidance and mindset, maybe even chime in on the chat. Like, how many agents do you think out there just have never even put any sort of entity structure in place whatsoever for their business? They just, everything's 1099 for their brokerage, and then they pay self-employment tax and like everything. I would venture to guess.
I'll out myself right now. I think I'm still set up as an S corp, and I don't have any idea why.
S corp's good.
I don't have any. Okay, maybe it is. I also don't know why.
But when did you set it up?
A tax person that Sarissa long ago recommended to me told me it was a good idea, and I'm just like, okay, right? Like, I am the consummate person who just like pays somebody else to do my taxes. I think they're doing it good. Then they file them for me, and I think I'm getting the right amount back because I filled out the form properly, and then things happen and I owe money, right? Like, I don't have any idea. Now, I'm not like these guys where I've got like investments and things to write off. So like me paying makes sense, but I don't know if I'm doing everything right. Like, I could be spending more money than I should be. Like, I'm the perfect example of somebody who has no clue what they're doing and just hands it to somebody else and trusts them blindly because somebody else told me to.
Right. I think it's a huge amount. And so I don't even know where to dive in. It's just, I am starting a business. I'm a real estate agent. Maybe we just turned it over. Like, I'm a real estate agent. I'm starting a business. Okay. What are the very basic principles that I need to maybe understand about my structure so I can minimize my tax bill? Or like, what are the biggest things that people do wrong, I would say? And what should they be doing better in order to avoid paying really, really hefty taxes at the end of the year?
Hold on. Do we need to make a full disclosure that we're not CPAs?
Oh, yeah.
Or
Yes. We are not. We're just human
advice.
beings that take advice from other people.
Yes. All right. Disclosure done.
Right. Not an attorney, not a financial planner. Don't play one on TV. First of all, I got to thank you guys for the invite here. I do have podcast envy sitting here in the studio compared to mine that comes out of my basement with a 60-watt light bulb. I don't even know where to begin here. So very impressive. Thanks for having me on. I know the show prep was like about 30 seconds, so we're kind of winging
15
this.
seconds longer than usual.
Very impressive. So we'll probably go roundabout in a couple of different areas today. We'll talk about taxes. We can talk about, I don't want to say retirement planning, but tax advantage investing. Talk a little bit about cash flow and what I do. I know some of you guys and some of your agents have been interested in cash flow investing, and that's kind of what I do.
I think that's huge, and I think ultimately right now is with tax time coming, most people. I've got a buddy who always calls me every year, and he likes to bitch and moan anyway. But it goes really big when tax season comes around. He's like, "Oh, I'm broke right now because I had to pay my taxes," and I'm like, "Did you not prepare for that?"
Right.
Like, and a lot of times that you get into this and there's no training on it of filing, paying your quarterly taxes, right?
Right.
Everyone waits till the end of the year. Usually they don't have the money. They're running their own Ponzi scheme is what it seems like, right? They're taking this year's money they've already earned to pay their taxes from last year. And eventually if they have a bad, month or two, then they're just kicking the can down the road and either, doing an extension or putting it on a payment plan.
Yeah. Right.
And then that's how they get in trouble.
Well, and here's the thing. You may get away with it for a couple of years. You may not get hit with any kind of penalty or whatever. And then all of a sudden in another year, the IRS catches up with you. And suddenly you have penalties and withholdings and things like that. So in general, and I don't want to just talk about real estate agents, but what I find generally, and I think your guest, Toby Mathis, back around 2 years ago, started to touch on this, but that was a highly technically challenged episode.
That was back when we were doing it over there and everything's all screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I recommended this guest, and oh man, it's going downhill. But anyway, the individual taxpayer, the person who files the 1040 and owns a business as a Schedule C, is the one who's raked over the coals by the IRS because, let's face it, IRS agents have a quota to fill and they'll go after the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Schedule C is where you embellish the most on all of your expenses. You have to lay it all out there line by line, and some agent's going to sit there in Utah or whatever and go through and decide whether that was legit or not. So that's probably the biggest thing to avoid. If you're in any kind of entity, your chances is A, of getting audited are much less. Second of all, the reporting requirements are much less. And once again, I'm not an attorney and not a financial planner.
You just paid your fair share of taxes.
I pay more than my fair share of taxes. In fact, I bumped up over that magic $400,000 mark this year.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Adjust my seat here a little bit, as I did mine the other day.
We just saw the viewership go down a little bit.
Yeah.
By one.
Yeah, adios. But anyway, in general, not just for, if you can be paid in an entity versus your personal name, that's probably the biggest thing you can do right there. And as Brian and I talked about, he gets a 1099 from Livian, and sending that to a personal name leaves you open to not only the federal taxes, but also your OADIN taxes, the Social Security, old age, disability, survivor taxes. And you have to pay that. Here's an overarching theme, all right? The IRS, when you're paid as an individual, you get paid, the taxes are taken out, you get to spend the rest. When you're an entity or a business, the money comes in, you spend it on things that you probably would have done anyway, but things to run your business, then you pay taxes on the rest. So the IRS actually lays out a roadmap for us as entities to legally avoid taxes. They want your business to generate production for the economy. So they give a roadmap to do that. So corporate tax returns are normally much simpler than your 1040 and your Schedule C. The partnership return, which, by the way, due today, March 15th, if you have a partnership, corporation, 1065, that goes in today, or the
You just file an extension.
or the extension, that's got to be postmarked today. So you got 2 hours here, an hour and a half here in Dallas to get it done. But anyway, those are one-page returns. They're very simple. So the biggest concept is not to be paid as an individual and write your business expenses off on a Schedule C where they're easy to audit. You want to be paid as an entity, as an S corp, or even in an LLC, and it simplifies your business reporting in a much more efficient manner. And back to your thing about the S corp, and this is what I've had Brian pivot to, is 1099 to the S corp, and there's several reasons to do that. One is that if you're making a lot of money, this goes into the S corp, but then you get to pivot and decide how much you're going to pay yourself. So you can have that money come in, write yourself a salary, just do it on payroll, and then the rest can be used by the S corp to do a bunch of things. Obviously, you're going to have expenses. You may have business-related travel, things like that. You can also set up retirement plans, and you guys are getting older, and you're in your 50s now?
I'm 44. I'm close enough.
It's a running joke. Anyway, it's coming a lot quicker than you think, and you don't have to be thinking about retirement to put a Roth together. But out of the S corp can come so many things with the proper advisors to set you up with these things, so that money goes elsewhere. You pay yourself a salary, and you have much more control over what you're doing with your money, and ultimately you'll pay less in taxes.
Now, Brian, is that what you do? Do you pay yourself a W-2 salary from that? So that's how I have mine set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my brother and I set that up years and years ago, and ultimately that was money came in, we had it go into the entity, and then ultimately we paid ourselves what we thought was a salary that also was a fair amount to pay for our position, plus without it going over a certain amount, then it triggers a higher taxable amount.
Exactly, and all the IRS says is a reasonable salary, reasonable wage, which is not defined in any of the publications.
There's not, and so ultimately, then advised by our CPA and accountant team, then the rest of the money that we earn was paid as a dividend, which is taxed completely different. Yeah. So we've been doing that for years, and it's made it a lot easier. And this is what I've told agents is that, guys, you need to do this because it's made it so much easier when you're going to apply for credit or for loans.
Yeah.
Right. Business owners, 1099 folk, they they have the worst of it trying to go get a home loan, try to go get a car loan, try to go get any loan in general. If you're a W-2, they like that. It's simple. They understand it, and you'll get approved as long as you have good credit and the salary's there, right? So that I believe everyone, Kelderman should include himself in this, is that as his S corp eventually put himself on a W-2 salary, and you're paying into your retirement account as well.
That was always the plan, but just realistically, I did the bullshit that all real estate agents do, and every commission check was all mine.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's easy to pay yourself a salary, but you have it deposited into some BS account that you have complete access to, and then when I've always said this before, look, I'm a former broke kid. I pawn shit. When funds are low, shit must go. And at the end of the day, when you are broke and there is a tax account sitting there with tens of thousands of dollars in it, that's no longer the government's money. That's rent money. That's whatever, right? So I think because so many agents are so close to the edge all of the time that they don't even look at the tax implications of it, right? And they spend all of it, and they're like, well, I'll figure this out later.
100%.
That's
the biggest reason. The biggest reason is I was counting on that closing check, and so I want all of it.
Yeah.
And then there's another small part of it that's a lot of this just kind of let's just be honest, a lot of us, we don't nerd out on this stuff the way that my dad does. A lot of this feels like going to the DMV. It's I gotta set this shit up and I gotta do this stuff.
It's confusing.
It's confusing and it's not super fun and it's a lot of paperwork. We were just talking I got a cost seg thing that I just haven't signed for 4 days today because there's another thing in my inbox. It's gonna save me a lot of money in taxes this year. I just haven't got to it.
Yeah.
Just Matt hasn't got to using his Zep card. It just feels like it's just a bunch of stuff you gotta do.
Yeah,
and it's easier to just wake up and go do something else.
Yep.
Well, let's jump on that. You put a property into play as a short-term rental in Denison, done really well, but it's less than 7 days, so the IRS considers that a trade or business, and so it's just like a regular return. However, since you have not filed your return yet for this year, you can still do a cost seg analysis on that, and this little 3.2, it's 3.2, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1,200 square feet in Denison. Estimated it's going to kick off about a $50,000 deduction in accelerated depreciation. So that comes right off the top line.
Well, don't you also is there an extra write-off for self-manage as well, right?
There are several things that go into it.
Yep.
But in this case, since he self-manages it, then it's going to come right off of his return. So we're going to try to get the other one done.
The other stuff is with the toilet paper and stuff like that. Those are right off.
Well, because you're not paying to manage it, you're self-managing. There's actually I think there's an additional write-off from my understanding.
I think you might be right.
Well, when it comes down to qualifying for whether you self-manage or whether you have a property manager, you have to be the person who puts in the most time.
Yes,
that's the thing.
Yeah,
and you just do a timesheet to show that.
And look, and even though Brian has Tom to help him out on this, you've kicked the can down the road. Matt's kicked the can down the road. We all do it, and what we do is, tax year comes around, we all fret on it. We write our check or we file the extension, and what we do is that they would say that's future Matt's problem. That's future Matt's problem.
Exactly.
Right?
Always.
And eventually, future Matt problem catches up, and there's so many future Matts out there that it all comes crumbling down, and then you've got to spend all that time with the IRS.
We do that with a lot of things too.
Well, and here's what I'll also tell you with the IRS, right? They, especially if you're making a little bit of money, they don't particularly care about a lot of the things that would normally go into your bills, right? So when I was doing when the tax man grabbed all my stuff and they were looking at it and they were like, look, we need X amount per month to start a payment plan with us, because I wasn't going to be able to pay it all back at once. I didn't have the money, right? They actually don't take a lot of just normal everyday costs into account when they figure out how much you owe them per month, right? So for instance, they didn't really care that my rent, because at the time I was living at the Star and I was paying this exorbitant rent for an apartment, that was not the average rent for my area. So they took the average rent for my area and said, this is what we're going to give you credit for. We're not giving you credit for the rest. They came in, they're like, we're going to need you to pay us $7,000 a month on a payment plan in order to get caught up. And I was like, are you kidding me? I don't have $7,000 extra a month laying around, which ultimately led me to have to hire an attorney to drive it down and then get it to a manageable number. But I let it get so far out of control, and they just don't give a shit at all on these payment plan side. So there's so many, that was it when I had the Escalade, and it was costing me $1,000 a month. They're like, that's a ridiculous payment for how much money you owe. We'll give you $500 in credit for that, right? And all of a sudden they came out, and they're like, you really only spend about $5,000 a month. I was like, no, I don't. And they're like, so give us 7. And I was like, I can't, right? Like, there's so many things, and they don't have to. Like, they'll just run roughshod over you.
When they can go and they can stick their hand in your bank account.
Oh, they
and take
definitely
your money,
will. They
right?
definitely
Right.
will.
Like,
Well, and before I forget, before we move on from this, when we're talking about the S corp, if you have a professional, bring it together, not legal doom, as my attorney calls it.
Legal doom, I like
But if you've done it right, mine's about 100 pages thick. One of the things that's one of the nice things that's in there is called an accountable plan, and it allows you to get reimbursed for a lot of things that you pay for yourself to begin with. You know, we all have medical expenses one way or another. And so what the S corp can do for you is you accumulate your medical expenses over the year. You present these expenses to your S corp, your own business. The S corp writes you a check back for the entire amount. It goes in your pocket tax-free. Now, you would have been paying those expenses anyway out of your pocket as a 1040 Schedule C person, and you never would have gotten reimbursed for them. But that lowers the taxable income for the company. You get a tax-free reimbursement. There's all sorts of little nuggets in there, and you really have to dive deep in, or have somebody who knows what they're doing to help you through that. But once you see the value of it, you'll want everybody to do it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here today.
you go to the doctor every day then.
No, I go to the gym though. That's another discussion for another part of today.
I don't know if we want to touch this. By the way, again, full disclaimer: we're not CPAs.
Right.
Tom's not a CPA. He's not an attorney. Take this advice at your own will. Go research it and go consult with your accountant, your attorney, and your CPA. All of them, just to make sure that it works for you.
A good place to jump in. This is a unpaid plug, and you guys had Toby on back 2 years ago. AndersonAdvisors.com. This is who works for me. This is who works for Brian. We're clients of theirs. They're real estate investors and attorneys. They've got hundreds of rental homes that they own, and this is where I've learned my shtick. They have the Hearts of a Teacher. They have a YouTube channel, and if any of this interests you, those are the people that you're going to want to go to get clarity on this. They actually have a membership where you can ask unlimited questions, and Toby's helped a lot. Anderson's helping us right now with the cost seg and all that. So that's the resource. I'm just kind of like a guy who took what I found and applied it to my situation, and if I can help other people kind of get steered down the proper road,
look, because
I'm happy to do that.
you have a W-2 job.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you have a W-2 job, and then you invest, and then you've learned how to navigate this, and
Right.
because you're only 51, right? You're only 1 year older than Matt.
We were born the same year. Yes, exactly.
Same
Yeah,
year, but
exactly.
1 year
So
older.
close, so
Yeah,
close.
same year, but 1 year older.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got to mention, I like the beard here. That's a new thing. It kind of hides a little scar here
It
that I
does.
gave you a few years
It
ago.
hides a scar from when Diesel kicked my ass in a pool basketball game. I didn't know. You know what? I've told this story before, and I'm gonna I didn't realize that we were just murking each other that day. I was like meeting Brian's parents for the first time. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go in and be like, hey, cool nephew, Matt,
kid.
right? The next thing I know, I'm just getting pimp slapped in this freaking pool by Tom. And by the time I realized it, I had no ability to respond. It was just too late.
Gloves are off in the pool.
They were.
Yeah.
They were.
It was the most intense Memorial Day.
It really was.
We're supposed
Luke's
to
been ashamed to call me father ever since.
Dad, why are you bleeding?
Yeah, because I'm a beta son. I'm a beta.
Oh boy.
I feel like we should just do a kick around show now. Fuck it.
I don't know if we want to touch on this though. Like,
Let's just throw it up there.
Let's just throw it up there and see if we've got.
I'm assuming
You've got questions.
it's
We're
Facebook
Radio
user. I'm
Shack.
assuming that may be.
I think that's Beth.
Yeah.
Is that Beth?
I think it's Beth.
Beth said, "I have a question. My business leases my car from my Jaguar. I saw a hack
Jaguar. Have you ever heard the commercials? They call it Jaguar.
I call it Jaguar.
Jaguar.
And I saw a hack on Instagram, and she put hack in quotation marks, that said I should buy the car and then lease the car from my business. Any thoughts?
My experience with business use of a vehicle is that it's a very nuanced area. It's ripe for auditing. And so what my advisors would suggest is to talk to somebody who's familiar with this, because where people run into trouble is the personal use of a business-owned car and keeping track of that. So with just seeing that question for the first time, I would say you'd want to find somebody like at Anderson or where else and say, hey, that's a good idea, or you can do that, but this is the accounting requirements that you're going to have just in case you're audited.
Yeah,
So,
I know my company pays for my vehicle, but I also own another vehicle that is a personal one, right?
Right.
So like I have two
Yeah.
vehicles. that yeah.
Look at this.
There's also
Jay Leno over
His,
here.
his don't get stolen.
I know they don't. I know Brian found this out the other day. I have re-upped on the stolen vehicle.
Wait, what
He
happened?
bought another Escalade.
Bought another Escalade.
Oh my god.
It's a way less souped up one though.
Yeah, it's way less
The
souped
last
up.
Escalade he paid for a lot of shit he would never use.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. They all get stolen. It's a
We
GM
need it.
product.
We've got 6 kids. We got to travel.
Why
like
didn't you get the
there's
Sprinter van?
Because I'm not 51.
So next year the Sprinter
Next
van.
year potentially, right? But it goes to the Escalade. There was also this thing that somebody had told me that when a car weighs over 6,000 pounds,
yeah.
it can now be registered as a commercial vehicle, and something with your insurance changes
That's
and
what
the
I was
business
about
changes
to
and
ask
stuff.
because Jesse pulled it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why the Hummers back in the day were, you
Oh,
see
yeah.
how everyone buy those.
Just wrap those?
Yes, those Hummers, and that because it was the 6,000 pounds.
If it's
Speaking of wrap-
6,000 pounds, it's
6,000 pounds. I don't know, but I know that's something.
Something with the weight of it has to be over 6,000 pounds in order to
Commercial.
get the.
You get bonus depreciation.
Yeah.
You get
Shouldn't you get more depreciation if your car is lighter?
Yeah.
Aren't we
So it
trying
says
to save the
100% of the
planet?
cost of the expensed using bonus depreciation in 2022 if the car's over 6,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. I don't
You
know.
don't even know.
And
That.
see, the line after
know.
that says,
But no more than
the IRS
14,000 pounds.
The IRS is
Now
very
we're getting
fussy
too
about
heavy.
writing it off too.
Yeah.
Keep good records.
They don't want people
Yes.
buying tanks.
So here's
Yeah.
what I've always done is I put my gas on my business card, and that's kind of the extent of my vehicle write-off. And then my car payment has always came out of from the business, right? So like now the Jeep that I drive is solely for business use. If we're driving, we use the other car, so we just don't drive it.
You do gas instead of mileage, essentially.
You
Gas,
do, you do
yeah.
actual expenses instead of
Yeah, I just do gas, and then the car payment comes from the business. So those aren't in my personal bank account expenses type of thing. So
Okay.
nobody's ever called me out on it. So.
Well, I mean, it could be better depending on. Honestly, it depends on.
Now I don't have a payment on the Jeep because I paid
Well,
cash for that.
I
but-
mean, if you're some sort of mathematical wizard, which nobody here is, I guess you could figure out that your miles per gallon, and then figure out if it's better to get the mileage discount or the gas expense.
Yeah.
For a gas guzzler, you'd probably always want to take the gas expense.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting very miles. Like if you drive a Prius, take that miles deduction. Do
Probably makes
Priuses
more
even
sense.
takes gas?
Huh?
Is that electric?
Priuses, I think, are gas and electric.
No, they
aren't
take-
They're
They
ga-
take-
I thought they
they're-
run off like feathers.
Well, it's gas and then battery. So you don't
Yeah.
charge it.
So you would take the mileage.
Yeah.
So like there's something there you could figure out, right? That's why taxes are so complicated.
What
'cause
about
not
the
everybody's
new?
thing is the same.
What about like the new
Tens
Hummer,
of dollars.
the electric Hummer? I'm sure that's over 6,000 pounds, right? Because of the batteries. So do you don't take the gas because it's not gas, so you just take the mileage,
I think you just take the mileage.
and then do you get
Because
a,
everybody knows electricity is free. It
Yeah.
doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, you just go plug it into someone else's wall, right? That's what I would do.
That's what I would do too.
I mean,
Oh my god.
guess what? If I was in this office, I'd be coming up here with my electric vehicle and just running an extension cord in the DPR office, and
I know a gentleman that was not so secretly mining Bitcoin out of this office building.
yep.
For years. And that might not sound like a big deal, but if you understood the energy consumption that was involved in mining Bitcoin at a high level, it is staggering.
Yeah.
And only a couple people knew about it. He's not here anymore. But
He's right. He retired.
he's probably retired. The dude he's doing it with Bitcoin is at like $2,000, so he's doing well.
Didn't
Yeah.
that trigger the grid crashing here a couple years ago?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that was
That's-
all because of that.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's because I get tired of talking taxes
Sure.
because I'm
Please.
Let me wrap it up in a bow.
yeah
Don't get paid as an individual if you can avoid it. Do all your investing in an entity. Have a main entity. Have some coming off of that. Your 1040 will have K1s or partnership returns coming up. Makes everything simple. When you do things in your own name and have a Schedule C, life's much more difficult. That's the bottom line.
I think it also it opens you up for some lawsuits. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's
You need-
that's another whole topic for
yeah,
another day.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you're doing anything in your own name, Kelderman, it opens you up to lawsuits, and so
Yep.
just go and protect yourself. I'll just tell you that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So. Yep. All right. You landed that one, beautifully. So let's move into the investment side because you're an award winner in investing, right? Didn't you win an award last year?
Yeah, I belong to an ecosphere called Note School. I invest in mortgage notes. I'm the bank for about 17 properties around the country. It's I call it worry-free cash flow. In fact, that's the name of my podcast. Is the No Club USA Cash Flow Podcast. It's not nearly as sophisticated as this one, and maybe we'll upgrade to a 100-watt bulb here sometime in my basement. But
I mean, you're making so much money, and that's
No.
that's probably a write-off.
Well,
Yeah, that's
so
old.
so here's the deal. I'll let you guys take a swig, and I'll talk for a minute. I'm a commercial airline pilot by trade. I've been doing it over 34 years. About a year to go to retirement, and Brian will vouch for this. I've been involved in just about every investment out there. When we were wholesaling, he was my bandit sign guy. Kind of got him started
I
there.
told this story the other day about how I got pulled over because I was running across the street at 4 in the morning in South Dallas with a hammer in my hand. And the cop was super confused when he saw I was like me, just like a normal suburban kid. Why are you here?
You and your 350Z.
Why, yeah, I was driving a 350Z, and they're like, why are you here? Why do you have a hammer? What are you doing? Like
bandit signs.
Yeah, because that time of day in that neighborhood, you don't expect when the window rolls down, you're going to look like me and have like a goofy, dumb 19-year-old, like, disposition about yourself.
With a hammer.
Yeah, and I still have the hammer. So it was jarring for him, too. He didn't know what he was walking into.
So I've been involved in a lot of investing entities, from developing land to owning residential assisted living. I've got a lot of syndications. I'm dropping some money with these guys this week in apartments. I've laddered that, and that's all for growth, and that's all great. But as you start to get to my age in life, cash flow is important. I can't go to you guys and say, "Hey, break off a door on that apartment building. I need to go buy a carton of eggs." So you need to start thinking about cash flow. So while I've got some of those syndications laddered for growth, I'm not interested in being a landlord. I'm not interested in rentals and the grind and everything else. You get to my age, you don't want to grind. You want the cash flow, but you don't want to grind. So I started looking at investing in mortgage notes, and it's just the paper business of real estate. And so whether the paper is originated by Wells Fargo or some seller financing people, they're out there on the open market. And so I had a whole bunch of money sitting aside in retirement funds, which is another great way to invest. Another part of, I think, what we'll talk about today. But I turned that into cash flow. And it's very simple. They're very marketable. You can go on marketplaces and buy these notes. And I've picked up enough now that I've got about $8,500 a month coming in, worry-free. They're all secured by the mortgages, and hoping for more to come. But I get that cash flow. I've got a servicer taking care of it, just like you guys have property managers. And I'm in a strong position because I bought the note at a discount. So if the borrower decides they're not going to pay, and I've only got one out of about 17 who is kind of problematic, then there's a process, whether it's cash for keys, modification of the loan. If we have to go to foreclosure, that might happen. But I've got so much equity on these properties, I'm not worried about it. So
when did you start going down that path?
It's really been about a year and a half. That's when I found out about note investing. I went right to the source. I went to a place called Note School, like I said. They're in Southlake. The guy who runs it, Eddie Speed, is a friend now. Has been doing this about 40 years, probably written 50,000 notes himself. And his group, who are essentially my board of advisors, who I can run to with any deal, been doing it for over 200 years. And so whenever I have a deal that I need to work, I go to them. And that's where I got the knowledge to do this. I'm very skeptical by nature. I'm so risk adverse.
I'll get along so well.
Yeah.
Nick doesn't believe in anything.
Yeah. So I had to be pretty convinced that this would work. It's like, what's the worst that could happen? And once we pulled away that part of the onion, I saw, the worst that could happen is I end up with a property back, and I go ahead and sell it, with a realtor or Facebook marketplace, and make some money. It's like, yeah, let's dive in. So it's been everything I hoped for. And now I've kind of got, my intention with notes was just to get enough that my wife and I don't have to worry about it anymore. We can go on a cruise and the checks keep coming in.
Yeah, so you go place your money and then
yeah, and I can go on a 90-day cruise and know that I'm not worried about a meteor hitting my tenant's house or anything like that. I know the service is going to handle any hiccups that come along, and generally that money is going to go in the mailbox or ACH, and it's all great. I don't have to worry about that. So that was my intent, and I was just going to sit back, and that was going to be it. But then I started to learn a lot more about it, about people who actually buy non-performing loans. They actually go out and buy loans where people have stopped paying as a way to acquire properties, especially when they're close to foreclosure. They'll just go in and buy the debt. And
can you get that for pennies on the dollar?
Yeah, a small fraction, yes. Now the idea is to get one that the lender's already started to put through the process. I got a buddy in Indianapolis. He picked up one that was only 60 days away from the foreclosure date, and he picked it up for pennies on the dollar and got it and ended up reselling it. So those opportunities are out there. They're not all over the place, but you have to know where to look. And then the other aspect is when traditional financing dries up, seller financing steps up. Happened in 2008, and we're seeing it now. And there was a brokerage that's a name brand brokerage had a very big meeting down in San Antonio beginning of February, right in the middle of that snowstorm. And my buddy Eddie was down there representing Note School. They were the top 100 earners in this brokerage nationally. And they were so interested in creative financing and how they can actually pivot and add this to what their agents can offer that I'd say I was told about half of them are now in the Note School ecosphere, getting the training like that.
Wow.
There's Eddie helped develop the seller financing stuff for home investors. You've seen the I Buy Ugly Houses folks out there. The guy who founded that, Ken D'Angelo, came to Eddie and said, "Can you teach my people how to write the paper and do that kind of stuff?" So I started to see how this might become germane in Brian's brokerage and elsewhere. So I actually came to the office and started working on a series teaching them about that. And just the first session, about 30 minutes, and I know Jesse was there, I was talking about how you can just buy these notes and have cash flow, and everybody just kind of sat there with their mouth open like, really? You can do that? In fact, one of them came up to me afterwards and said, "I'm kind of angry." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, because I've been investing for 15 years and nobody ever told me this is out there." So
what kind of cash on cash, if you have 500 in cash flow a month or whatever, right?
Right.
What's your cash outlay?
Generally, you can buy notes for $20,000. You can buy them for $200,000. You can buy whatever you can come to. What I'm looking for generally, the notes that I buy are at about a 12% yield. So I'm looking at about, the first note that I picked up cost $88,000. It's on a place in Georgia. That's one beauty of the note business is you can do it anywhere in the country. I picked it up with my IRA, and so the outlay was $88,000. The borrow is $107,000 on a $149,000 house. So if I ever have to foreclose, I'm in a pretty good spot. That note pays into my IRA $873 a month. So it's basically 1% of what I invested. Every month. And I don't talk to them. They don't know me. My servicer handles it. It costs me $15 a month to have it serviced. And if they start to get behind or don't renew their insurance or don't pay their taxes, the servicer takes care of it. I'm on a cruise or I'm on a podcast or something. I'm not having to worry about it.
So on that, do you want to invest in states like, I'm assuming that you're only looking at states that may have more favorable foreclosure laws?
Sure. If there's a non-judicial foreclosure state, that's a good place to be to start with. You find generally more across the South and up the Southeast are very favorable. I try to stay away from New York, New Jersey, California, Massachusetts. Life's too short to invest in those areas. You can get some deals that some folks who want to wade in and have deep pockets and long timelines, that's fine, but there's so many opportunities here in Texas and elsewhere that there's a lot of good paper out there. I think I bought up a whole block in Mississippi, not terribly $30,000, $40,000 notes at a time, and so the other nice thing about that, and if y'all want to, I'm going to do a shameless plug here. If this sounds the least bit interesting, you can go to my website, noclubusa.com, and then /CF, like cash flow or carefree, however you want to look at it. And I run through 3 of the notes that I've done that are actually part of my portfolio. And we also talk about what can go wrong. That's about a 40-minute video, if any of this excites you at all. But those are all strong position notes. Yeah, but to get back to your point, Nick, is I try to go where the land is a little more favorable towards doing that kind of thing.
So so as you're navigating that, what would be something that, is there a certain buy box? Like in the investor world, we have buy box criteria. Sure. So I'm sure you're creating a buy box criteria for the notes themselves.
Sure, and everybody has their own buy box. I created my own. I broker notes to other folks, so if you're interested in notes, I have access to a whole bunch of them.
Broker notes to other folks.
That's what it is. It's just flipping paper instead of flipping houses, but it's flipping paper. But everybody has their own buy box, their own risk. When I evaluate a note, it's first of all, where is it located and what's the collateral look like? Does it pass the eyeball test? Might not necessarily be someplace I want to live, but if it's good, solid property that I know that if I ever took possession of, I could sell it fairly quickly, even if it was at a discount. So I'm not going to be stuck with a meth lab or something like that. I don't want something that's windows boarded up, things like that. Then it's the quality of the paper. How was the borrower qualified? Did the lender just, was this a mom and pop who went and qualified these people off the Craigslist and the first person to fog a mirror, or do they actually get Dodd-Frank approved? And those are some things that we look at. Personally, I like to see the property be escrowed. I know that when people don't escrow their taxes, it's just like income taxes. Suddenly the bill comes due and it's like, oh, I can't find it, and they get behind. So those are some of the things that are in my buy box. Like I said, I like to get a note that gets me about 1% a month on my return, and so far that's worked out pretty good. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but it's that's my buy box. Some people like a little more risk, some people like a little less risk.
So similar to the like the buying a rental, the 1-to-1 ratio.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Without all the headaches.
Yeah, because you're not worrying about tenants, toilets, and taxes.
Right. That's what he always says.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you're earning that kind of money, because look, you go buy one single family rental, you could cost seg it. There's probably a little bit in there. You get some tax breaks on that as well. But you have to worry about the tenants, toilets, and taxes on it.
Right.
When you're investing in notes, what does do you get any breaks on taxes, or is it an income earned tax off of that $8,500 that's coming in? How does the tax breakdown work on that?
Basically, as a lender, it's coming to you as a 1099 interest, 1099.int. It's straight interest income. If you invest in your own name, it's just going to be like ordinary income. What you want to do is invest through a business name, or better yet, invest through tax advantage funds. So you can open up your traditional IRA, your Roth, your health savings account, Coverdales. You can do the whole gamut. If that excites you, go to the website, Podcast 3. I had a gentleman on there named Derek Long from Quest Trust IRA. People tend to think that when we start talking about retirement accounts, that it's for older folks. But you hear Roth IRA. Anybody can have a Roth IRA. It's designed for retirement, but used properly, it can be used for just about anything.
So on the Roths, are you able to start taking money, because I don't want to wait till retirement age, right? Like I've got a buddy who bought a commercial building. It's bringing in almost $9,000 a month, and it was out of his IRA. He can't touch it until he's 63, 65?
Traditional IRA, it depends.
Yeah. And I'm like, you're in your 40, so now you got to wait that long, and I don't know. I want it now, because there's no guarantee that tomorrow is going to come. So I want to enjoy that money coming in right now.
Well, the attraction to the traditional IRA is for people is that the amount they kick in, if they meet the income requirements, they get to take that off their taxes now. And a lot of people think that's a way to go. But if you can put money into a Roth, that thing's going to grow tax-free for the rest of your life. And you can do that at any age. And there's ways to get money in a Roth. We talk about it on that episode. That even if you make too much money, that's a misconception that I don't qualify for a Roth. You do qualify for a Roth. We just may have to look at a couple of different ways to get money in. One would be by having an S corp and having your S corp contribute to the Roth. There's several different ways to do it. Another thing that people don't realize is health savings accounts. And if you have a high deductible health plan, and every company defines that differently. I had one with my employer, but I didn't like the investment choices. It's basically stock market, and so. At Quest, another shameless plug. I plug the people I use. You treat me right, I'll plug you for free. I don't get anything out of this, but just passing along the things that have worked for me. I moved all my money to Quest in my health savings account. Now, for those of you who don't know what a health savings account is, if you have a high deductible health plan, you can contribute up to, I think it's $7,000 a year, a little bit more if you're over 50. And that money is a tax deduction when you put it in your HSA. All right. Then that money grows tax-free, and then if you pull it out for a qualified medical expense, which is publication 507 and 66 pages long, which is just about everything, then you get that money back out tax-free. And we have a little episode on that podcast where Derek talks about how his dad paid for an airplane with his HSA. So here's basically how it works. You start as a younger person like yourself, and you start funding this HSA, and you start investing in things, whether it's kicking in $25,000 into an apartment complex or whatever, and that money comes back in, and you don't need it over the years, but you keep your health receipts, and it could be something as simple as hand sanitizer or doctor's visits, whatever, and you add those up. Let's say you get $100,000 worth of these receipts over 10, 15 years. All right, you can go to the custodian and say, hey, my HSA has $120,000 in it. I have $100,000 in receipts. Go ahead and stroke me a check. and then you get it just like that. You don't even have to send the receipts in. You only need the receipts if you get audited. So anyway, that's how you can take advantage of an account that's kind of designed for retirement and have a retirement-like outcome as far as the taxes, but you can be in your 30s or 40s. That kind of, it's tax advantage. I wish we'd stop calling them retirement funds.
Yeah.
We call them tax advantage funds.
I like it. Tax advantage.
And so just about all of my note business is in tax advantage funds. I flipped a piece of land note in my HSA. It was great. I bought $32,000 worth of debt for $27,000 roughly. 6 weeks later, the person decided to pay it off, which was awesome. So for my $27,000 investment, I got a $32,000 return. So in 6 weeks, and it was all tax-free because HSA, rinse and repeat, do it again. So anyway, doesn't always work out like that. But
so, and look, I'm just going to go on a limb. I don't know if you've looked at this. Kevin texted Brian and I, insurance Kevin, and trying to get us into. He was the one that's texting us, right, Brian?
Yeah.
He's trying to get us into the whole life insurance, the infinite banking concept. Have you gone down that path to look at it? Has there been anybody on your podcast that talked about that?
Not yet, no. I am familiar with it. In fact, I know Anderson has a specialist in that, and I've looked at it. Unfortunately, when you get to my strata with a 6 in front of your age, it becomes somewhat cost ineffective. The premiums are a little high. I think that as part of a diversified investment strategy, it's probably a good idea. The younger you can start, the better, because your cost of insurance is so low. So I think if you're able to hang with it for all that time, it's actually a pretty good thing to be involved with. But once again, everybody's situation is different. I wouldn't take food off the table to put one in, but if you've got money sitting around that you don't know what to do with, especially in these uncertain times, and that's the other thing I find with y'all's generation, that you're underinsured generally. So if you're going to have insurance, make sure that you have something that does something good for you like that. So I think it's great that you'd be interested in life insurance, and that private vault thing is a really good. It's fairly new, and so it's a good thing to be involved in.
And you go back, like if you go do the research, there's you don't know what's true. Some say it's not worth it. Some say it is. That it's only if you're bringing in a ton of cash, because you do have to. Like you've got to load it, right? So like if you're going to say you're going to load a $500,000 life insurance or the policy, that it doesn't. You've got to pay in a certain amount until it actually, I guess, becomes effective.
Right.
So I mean, there's a financial commitment, a monthly financial commitment, so that you can load up the account.
That's the whole thing. You need to be able to stick with it, be able to put that money away consistently. You're going to reach a point where you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So, and most people don't have that staying power.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, the discipline. Yeah, I sent sent Brian a podcast today about, and they talk about, and I'm trying to get this guy on our podcast because Elizabeth had shared it with me. Blanking out his name. He was the kind of a mindset coach for like Kobe and Stefan and.
I forget his name. I know what you're talking about.
And he talked about that we all have choices. Like. People say, "Man, I'm just not made to be disciplined." It's just not. It's not my personality.
Not a morning person.
Yeah, I'm just not a morning. And he said, like, those are choices. The choices of being disciplined versus not disciplined. The choices of going to the gym versus not going to the gym. The choices of setting up your tax strategies, being your tax advantage strategies, or not doing it. We all have choices on it.
Right.
And Tom, you've gone down the path of you're rattling off all this shit, and you're like, God, you memorize all this. I don't understand it. But you've made choices to go learn it and learn how to use the you learn how to take advantage of the game within the rules that's already been provided.
Yeah, 100%.
The tax code is a roadmap on how to save in taxes. Most people don't read it, and they're not interested, or they use the term loophole, but it's actually just a guide path, and it helps to have people like the folks at Anderson who can break it down and say, hey, here's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Or if you don't tax plan properly, here's how we get you out of it.
Yeah.
So
man, this was I loved it. I mean, I'm going to go look at one. I'm going to go to your what is it? What is your podcast?
Where can they find you ever? What noteclubusa.com /CF, right?
Yeah. Well,
where else can they find you?
We were kind of all over the place. So here's a couple of things I'll leave you with. The general site is noteclubusa.com. And then within that site, I have a video for folks who've heard me speak or what have you that does about a 40-minute presentation on the simple aspect of buying a note and owning it. And that would be noteclubusa.com Charlie Fox, CF for cash flow.
Okay.
My podcasts are on there. You can go on there on podcasts. I've had 3 so far. We do it every other Friday.
Nice.
I've got another cool guest coming up this Friday. One thing I'm really trying and push now, I've gotten a lot of interest, especially from real estate agents, is that Note School has actually allowed me to give away tickets for free to some of their upcoming events.
Oh, nice.
So we've got what's called the Master Class coming up on March 29th, and there are going to be some after that. And if you can't make that, at least sign up for it because you'll get the replay.
Okay.
But
I'm interested. Sign me up.
fantastic. Note School has actually given me a limited number of tickets, so you just email me. It's pretty simple, tom@noclubusa.com. Let's just touch base. I'll get you some tickets, and I just want to work with people who have at least a little bit of knowledge of the business. You may decide this isn't for you, but I'll tell you what, this, and Brian will vouch for this, Notes has actually changed my entire retirement outlook.
100%.
A year and a half ago, as I was facing forced retirement with COVID and all this other stuff, and I wasn't sure where I was going, I had all this money set aside. And by adding notes to my portfolio, it compounds the growth instruments that we have. I'm happy to invest, the money I did with you guys and kind of ladder that out, and people should know what that is, where you have different investments coming due over time. But for cash flow and being able to know that I can go away for a month and I come back and there's $9,000 in my account that wasn't there, it's really cool. There's a lot to it. We kind of bounced around today. Didn't really have a whole lot of prep, so I don't know how it came across.
I think it came across great because I'm going to tell you, like, one, you're speaking my love language right now because I've been telling Brian, like, the amount of stress that both him and I have been under, the last couple of years.
Right.
And I'm like, I throw this joke out. I'm only 40, so not old as Kelderman. Look, he's so old that he had to leave the show. I think it's nap. I think it's
he just
nap
retired.
Was that his wheelchair that went out?
Yeah.
I just thought, okay.
I think it's dinner. It's 4
nap time.
4 o'clock, so it's dinner time.
Yeah,
it's dinner time.
he went to the
Luby's.
Golden Corral.
Luby's. He went to Luby's, and I throw this joke out with Brian all the time, and it's not really. I'm halfway joking. I'm like, I want to have a choice to retire, and I don't say that I don't want to do anything in the next 5 years, but by 45, I want to have that enough cash coming in that is stress free.
Right.
Because the ones that is coming in now, while it's great money, it's not stress free cash at all. And hearing the Note Club stuff, I was on with my attorney. We all know him, Matt Aycock, and Matt was telling, like, as he retires, he wants to own debt. Perfect timing. I didn't even know, like, this was going to coincide with what you talked about. Owning notes is owning the debt, and like you said, you're getting 12%.
Right.
On those, and it's just, all right, how do we identify our buy box criteria so that it doesn't leave us too exposed to that risk of defaults.
Right, and the important thing to know, Nick, is that anybody can do this, but you want to do it at a high level. You don't want to go in and make mistakes. Right. So that's why I went and got the training, and that's why I'm offering it to folks. Is that you can find out how to do it the right way or the wrong way, and the wrong way is going to cost you. The right way is going to be very rewarding. And we're seeing unprecedented demand right now for what Note School offers and this business. We're seeing a lot of people want to get their rentals out, especially folks when you get older like me. You want to get out of that grind. And the other thing is, we didn't even really talk about it, but when you sell your investment property on installment sales, you can get rid of the long-term capital gains if it's done right. Installment sales, publication 537, when you spread your gain out over time, then your taxes are spread out over time. But that's a story.
Is
for
installment
another day.
sales kind of like an owner finance?
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
So let's say that you're.
Okay.
Let's say that you own 4 or 5 rentals in your name. You own them free and clear. You have for a while, and you know that if you sell them for a chunk of money, the tax man's going to take a big bite in capital gains year one. Well, if you sell them on seller financing, basically the general premise is spreading that out over a couple of years or 30 years, however. As you get the gain, you pay the taxes on those long-term capital gains. And if it's below a certain threshold, you won't even be paying capital gains tax at all. And, of course, they're looking to go ahead and put the capital gains tax a little bit higher now. But anyway, that's so anyway, that's a whole discussion.
No, I think that's
today.
great.
So,
I think that's great.
Poor Jesse's been trying to come up with a hypothetical. I don't think we got a good one.
I don't think we have a good one, and I think
don't.
I guarantee you, I want to rip off what Beth Silverman's was, which it was a Mary Shag Kill.
Okay.
But I don't
who?
have it. Like,
Well,
what was
Kelderman's back.
Yeah.
Okay, Kelderman, your punishment is that Shag? Are we British?
Shag.
Okay, yeah.
So dumb. Kelderman has to come up with the 3 people.
Look, this is one of the.
It's Kiss, Marry, Kill.
Yeah.
But
I'm familiar with the game.
You got to come up with the 3 people.
Okay, so
Is
are we?
it Kiss or is it Shag?
It's
We
not
all know what it
either
is,
of
but we're
those. We
trying
know
not
what
to-
it is.
We're one of the top 23 podcasts according to Emmett, so
so
we're
we
trying
can't
to
say the
limit
other words.
certain things.
So
now.
is there like a genre of people I'm supposed to choose from, or is it
Well,
just
it's not
the
I
people.
think
It's
that
not
is-
people, but it was like in Silverman's. It was like,
Yes.
would you want to, Mac? It was marry, shag, kill, an investor with something, a for sale by owner, or a buyer that has.
Oh, it's types of people.
It was.
I just
What was
like
the buyer
regular
one though?
people.
'Cause I like these-
It was a
I feel
buyer.
like Betty
on-
White
on
always ends up in these somehow. I like regular
champagne
people.
taste with a beer budget. Yeah.
Okay, so here, this is relatively easy for me, right? Definitely I will marry the buyer because I feel like that's where I have the most experience is getting like buyers with ridiculous expectations to like come around. So I feel the most confident about that.
He's very good at that.
The Fizbo, I would probably shag because I feel like I've got a little bit of a shot there. Bro, I'll be super honest with you, and I'll put this out there, and this probably cost me some business, but I can't deal with investors. I just don't like, I need, and I've told you guys this one before, I need the emotional side of real estate to be in play, just where people are willing to walk away from a deal at the last second because like some number didn't work. It just breaks my brain. I just can't stand it. Right? I need
the
everybody.
person sitting across you in this podcast sent me a text message no less than an hour ago before we started. It said, "They agree or we walk."
Yeah.
That's all he said.
And here's
and it
my
was
thing.
you.
And I can't be in that. I need everybody to kind of get along and work towards a resolution where there's just somebody and this isn't just real estate. When this is just like anything, where there's just one person who's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. That person becomes the absolute fucking fuel for my anger more than anything. Because I'm like, we're just all standing here waiting on you. Like,
I'm going to tell you right now, you would be really angry at me then. At this very moment.
I would never. I honestly, I love the fact that we're friends, and I love that you're on my side with most things because you're resolved to just stand steadfast and just be like, this is what we're gonna do. I think it's awesome to watch you do to other people. I also think in my head, I would hate that dude on the other side of a transaction where it's just like, this is just what we're gonna do.
Nick is the best dude I found out. Just being so casually, just being like, you know what? I just don't feel like my lawyer would agree.
He delivers. He delivers frustrating information in the most casual fashion I've ever met.
I'm going to tell you, the broker last night would disagree with you on how that was not a casual conversation.
I know you get fired up.
9:30 discussion for sure.
Well, if you can come across as you don't care, then that's negotiating leverage right there.
It definitely is. It definitely is. But that's why I like the residential side, man. It's just everybody's trying, let's go get you in this 3-2 for $275. Like, what the hell's your problem, right? Like, insurance company will pay for the roof. We'll figure all this stuff out. Like, show you where to put your couch.
Okay, what were the 3 choices?
It was like an investor. It was a for sale by owner, and
an investor who doesn't oversee their own.
an investor that what?
They don't oversee their own
Projects.
That's Brian.
Yeah. An investor that doesn't oversee their own projects. But I would say, look, an investor who just got out of a investment seminar, because that's a lot different than how Beth explained it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'll tell you who I'll kill. An investor who just got out of an investor seminar, for sale by owner, and I don't remember just a for sale by owner in general, and a buyer that has champagne taste on a beer budget.
Okay, I would definitely shag the buyer with champagne taste because I could probably talk them down. I would
We got to talk them up.
I think I have to kill the Fizbo. You've already made a choice that you want to be at odds with me. I've converted a lot of Fizbos in the past, but I don't like. It's not my first choice of lead generation. The investor has at least taken some sort of step to say, I'm going to spend my time learning about this, and I could develop a relationship. I'm not going to judge somebody for going to a seminar and still being green. Because we all went to the
So you're
seminar.
shagging them or marrying them?
I'm going to marry them because if I can
But they
if I
usually
can,
never take action.
I know, but if I can develop a relationship, here's the thing.
Look, that is a partner that's always like on to the next thing. Like, I just went to this. We're going to do this.
Look,
I'm on to this. And you're like,
it's
holy shit, I can't even keep up.
It's a lesser of 3 evils. I agree. Like, I'm not saying I'm excited about it. I'm just saying of the 3.
Yeah, I'm definitely killing the for sale by owner. I think so, that's been my kryptonite in my real estate career forever. I'm probably probably the same. I'm shagging the buyer. You know,
because you don't get emotional about any of that stuff.
no, I don't give a shit. and then I'm going to marry that investor, and then I'm going to show them a better way.
That's my premise, right? That's my premise.
I'm going to make them come to my seminar, and then they're going to get on board with my investment strategy. And then we're going to go to Note Club USA.
There you
right.
go.
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to finance all their properties. I know
Exactly.
they're paying.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to go down that rabbit hole this week because I might change my whole strategy.
I'm in with you, dude. We got some capital in the bank. Let's just retire. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
You got to keep the podcast going, though.
Episode 1. Oh, we're gonna
Just do it from the golf course.
This is the one thing we accidentally do every week.
Yeah. Like, it really doesn't matter what happens around us.
You know who's not retiring right now? Who can't retire is Mortgage Mike, because he's waiting on that tax refund checks from y'all, so that y'all can use that towards your down payment. If you got $99 in a job, he said he can get you approved. Just tell him that. Mortgage Mike stamp of approval.
You got to pay your taxes to get a refund.
Tell him Nick said that, and he guaranteed it.
Mortgage Mike of Texas.com, and then Brian walks around with protection.
I got that.
He's got it on right now.
Hardship protection.
Yeah. Did Theron put it on for you?
He did.
Yeah.
He clamped it on
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah. Look, that's service right there. And that's what you can expect from Armadillo and Theron Smith. He will come and do those things for you. White glove service, armadillo.1/tour, Tore.
Would you guys be able, really quick, to recognize a backslash or a forward slash, like in a lineup?
I've always, I thought about that.
I don't know.
Yeah, because the backslash is going away for you. The forward slash is coming towards you, right?
No, because that's a backslash.
Wait, let me see.
Those are
yeah, it's going away from you. It's going away. Like,
in what way?
I pictured it
Like
as a hill going up a hill.
way.
It's like it's
Going
going
away
away
from who?
Yeah, it's going, but it's also going towards you.
I picture myself as the last word before the slash, and then it's going up a hill away from me.
Okay.
But if it's a forward slash, then it's like coming
Then
down
it's
the hill
going
towards me.
downhill. That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
I think we need to call them something different.
Yeah. I think
Left
we should
slant, right
I think we
slant.
should just do dashes and not backslash.
Yeah, we shouldn't even be doing this.
Yeah.
I think. I feel like we could solve this with a better fucking system.
Armadillo.tour.
You know who's going to solve your problems with a better system? Homeward Property Management. If you are an investor that just doesn't want to deal with toilets, taxes, nonsense, everything, check out homewarddfw.com/nothing. Just go to the website. It's the best property management company in North Texas. And boys, I know we're going to sign off. I just want to take a moment really quick to just appreciate how uncompromising we have always been with this podcast. I love doing this shit on
You're not even
Wednesdays
thank
with
your
you
dad
guys.
for being here?
I'm going to thank my dad for being here for sure.
You're going to leave us
Absolutely.
with that? But
I don't always thank the guests.
Thanks,
we
Diesel.
sometimes do.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks for
Diesel.
showing up.
I'm going to have dinner with him in a second.
He flew over
I'll thank
here.
him then. But man, dude, let's just own it. This market is crazy. The fucking banks are failing. Credit Suisse, gone probably. If not today, tomorrow. A lot of stuff going on in the world. I fucking love doing this, guys. I fucking love
I
doing
know where you're
this.
going with this. I was like, are we doing a whole new show?
No, we're
we're about to
not.
start over.
I
Episode
love
179.
that this is always the thing that we do our way.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you know what? People seem to like it.
They do.
So-
At least 8 of them do right now, and 9 of them did before.
Yeah.
All right, Jesse, we're done here.
Get us out of here.
Thanks for watching the show today. Make sure if you're watching this on Facebook, you head over to our group, the only real estate group worth being a part of, so you can watch the extended conversation. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you listen on the Apple Podcast, leave us a review. We'd really like it. So just do it. Do it. Do that over there. Go to this one. And then go to that one. Thanks.